Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of the Help I Started a Business Now What podcast, affectionately known as the Now What Show. Today, I'm pleased to actually have an interview with our sponsor, goimagine. So we have Jon Lincoln here from goimagine, and he and the company are going to be the focus of our interview today. Now, I promise it's not going to be boring and it's not going to be a big sales pitch, so don't hit that off button. We're going to learn more about the platform and some really interesting and unique initiatives that goimagine has going on. So, Jon, can you introduce yourself to everyone here on the show and tell us a little bit about your background and goimagine?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, thanks for having me, Amber. I appreciate you having us here. And for those who don't know Go Imagine, my name is Jon Lincoln. I am the founder of Go Imagine. We are a handmade platform that came out right before the pandemic, which was wonderful timing that I did not expect. My personal background is I've been in technology for well over maybe 12 or 13 years now. And we found a real need years ago with my partner, Steph Romke, who is a handmade seller, that there was really a big lack in the industry of a handmade community
Mhm.
platform, one that's focused on handmade, one that's focused on social good. So we decided to start one. And so Go Imagine is a marketplace for handmade goods, connecting makers and artists with with buyers. But we also have a lot of other things that we're providing. Sellers as well, including our social media app, our training, and a lot of other things we can certainly discuss.
Mhm. Now, we have something exciting that's been going on with goimagine that I've been keeping it a secret for a while. I've known about it, but I
Hmm.
wanted to have Jon talk about it on the show. You're adding some things that I have long wished marketplaces would add because you're kind of going to start to tap into that local consumer. So, can you tell us more about this Buy Local initiative and what you're doing on goimagine to facilitate that?
Absolutely. I mean, this is actually something I'm personally very excited about. I think what you see right now in the world is more and more, I'll call it global marketplaces. And they're wonderful. I mean, this is not a knock on the fact that you can go onto Amazon or you can go onto any of these sites and buy products from people from anywhere. They can be products from Portugal. They can be from Brazil. They can be from anywhere, right? Um, but there's really a lack of a way to support local online. So for people who do want to say, you know what, I'll buy things from anywhere, but occasionally I'd like to support the makers and the small businesses down the street from me. So what we're doing, and we're launching it as we speak, is, as you mentioned, a shop local initiative that's going to make it very easy right from the home screen for people to search for makers and artists products within their state. We're creating shop local collections, which you can browse products within your region. So if you want to browse products from makers that are, near you, you can do so easily with Go Imagine. And the idea here is just we're trying to create the yin to that yang, right?
Mhm.
Global marketplaces are going to be around forever and they're going to be fantastic, but we do believe there should be an alternative for those who want to occasionally have that alternative. And
Mhm.
that's exactly what we're doing. And we're going to be digging our heels into that shop local initiative throughout the year. And we think, especially coming into Q4 at the end of the year, it's going to be extremely powerful.
Mhm. I mean, I think of how often I go to my local markets here in the Minneapolis area, and I can go to all sorts of different markets and say, "I didn't know you were here." And the same
Hmm.
exists for everyone else. Or, it's almost sometimes like lightning strikes, especially if you're selling at a local craft market, even online. It can be incredibly hard to find those other local artisans. And so then as a consumer, you think about it and you're like, it's nearly impossible for me to find this. So for a while, we saw the rise of sites that did curation, right? And you still see that where they'll curate boxes and that'll be of certain makers. But as a consumer, it was really hard to be able to initiate that whole shop local. So the other part that I love about that too is just facilitating that from the comfort of my couch. I
Yes.
can be doing those activities and finding those activities that I otherwise wouldn't have really found.
Well, that's
um,
exactly it.
yeah.
You might want to make it to that craft fair that's coming up, but maybe you were busy that day and you couldn't go there the times it was open, right? Well, so now you've lost the opportunity to shop from any of those local makers that were at your local craft fair. Heck, maybe there was bad weather that day, and it was just no one wanted to go out in the rain and cold to that fair, and unfortunately, those makers just lost a lot of their local buyers, right? And to your point, just the comfort of doing it from your own home. You want to support local, but I mean, there's some people who just don't have the ability to go out, and so this is going to be hopefully an avenue for them to be able to support their local makers. Um, yeah, there was one other thought I had there too that it slipped my mind. Um, I'll probably think of it as we keep going.
No worries, no worries. The other big thing that I come back to is about building local economies, right? And that's
Hmm.
that whole, your point of having that heart for shopping local. I mean, there's sound research that I've read over the years. I can't tell you exactly where I've read it. I might have to dig it up for the show notes about how money spent in local economies tends to stay in local economies.
Uh huh.
And that's where it's actually quite helpful. And so you start
Absolutely.
to think about, if money is spent with the local businesses, they're then hiring other local business or buying supplies from other local businesses. There's a real way to re-inject and reinforce and help your own local economies by being able to do this. And it was just that other marketplaces just didn't really do that, where, they've gone the go big, expand more global, and you're like, well, I actually no, I want to go home. There's a whole go big or go home. You're
Yeah.
like, no, I want
Yeah.
to go home.
And this is a kind of a social experiment for us as well, because we're going to find out pretty quick how much actually people actually care, right? I
Yeah.
mean, there are buyers out there that really just care about how fast it's delivered and how cheap the product is. But
Mhm.
then there are buyers out there that I believe are looking for high quality items and supporting their local economy, so to speak. And
Mhm.
we're going to find out quick how many of those people there are.
Mhm.
It might not even be as big, but it's going to be a big enough market that I think can really help drive its own marketplace. It's enough that there are people out there that can support a new platform that's focused more on that.
Mhm. Now, there's another thing that you're doing that I also found really interesting. I believe you started doing this late last fall with some of your gift giving guides
Mhm.
at the end of the year. Tell me more about some of these gift guides and what your approach as Go Imagine has been with these particular gift guides, because that strikes me as unique.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's similar to the shop. Well, it is the shop local, but it was really last fall. We realized that when you look at most gift guides that come out from marketplaces or just retailers in general, they're often focused on specific holidays, the Mother's Day gift guide, the Father's Day gift guide, or they're focused on a category, the jewelry gift guide, the home and living gift guide, or whatever it might be. We decided to take that approach once again, but being more local and shopping, where we started doing what we call regional gift guides. Guides that really are not about a specific category, but rather about where the makers are, so that people can easily browse products based on that region. So we have like the Mid Atlantic gift guide, we have the New England gift guide, we have the Pacific Northwest gift guide, and that really actually took off pretty well in Q4. We could see things were selling out of the gift guides a lot,
Mhm.
and I think it was because people are it actually reinforced our decision to keep digging into this shop local initiative because we saw how good it went in Q4.
Mhm.
So it's yeah, and those collections are coming back. They're going to be on the front page of our website. Possibly by the time this podcast is actually released. So
Mhm.
if you go to our site, you'll probably see those collections that are on the front page.
Mhm. Now, do you curate them? Is it done programmatically? Can you tell us a little bit more about this whole process around creating gift guides? How does that work for Go Imagine?
Yeah, we curate them right now, right?
Mhm.
Not me, but I do have two other people that are really good at finding the good products that are on the marketplace, and curating those collections so that they are, I'd like to say high quality, right?
Mhm.
It's a challenge, and it's especially a challenge curating collections in a handmade world, because a lot of times there's one of a kind items. So you
Right.
put the product up and it sells, and now there's a blank space on the page because you're like, hey, buy this. Someone buys it. Something else has to go there. Like you think of it like a supermarket. Like if you see boxes of cereal, there's 15 Honey Nut Cheerios. You take one, there's one right behind it. But the problem is that doesn't exist in handmade, because sometimes it's one of a
It's
kind.
one of a kind.
You pull it
Yeah.
off the shelf's now empty. right? So you got to have someone rush over and put the next item up. um, so to mention to your point, programmatically, we've solved some of that because we're working on a way to feed the next product into that spot
Mhm.
essentially. But we
Mhm.
still need someone curating that feed so that when one comes off, the next one pops up and it's always full. But right now I mean, our company is very I want to say very human powered. I mean, obviously we do a lot of
Mhm.
tech, but as a handmade organization, the whole idea of handmade is very human,
Right.
and we've been looking into some AI type stuff, and AI is getting more and more popular, but we are very cautious around any of that because I
Mhm.
think a lot of the charm and a lot of the interest we get from our community is the fact that we are human and that we are people and that we are caring. And when you put in too much automation, people can sniff it out. They can sniff out that the human wasn't there. It was a robot. It's like
Right.
when you call customer service for some large companies and they're getting to the point where it feels like you're on the phone with someone, but really, this isn't a human.
Mhm.
Or the chat bots you talk to online. It's like, hey, how are you doing today, Amber? Like, you're not even a person. You're, you're a robot asking me how my day is because you want me to think it's a person. That's not us. That's not us.
I've resorted to saying, "I need to talk to a human." I say
Yeah,
that a lot with the
human,
chatbots to
please.
try to
That's what I say.
bypass, "Well, let me try to help you." No, I really need to talk to a human because I wouldn't even be on here if I didn't need a human.
Yes. Yeah, I'm the same way. Human, please. Just give me a human. And you're like, oh, yeah, no, I'm with you. But so, and I get it. I get it. But again, we're trying to do things different. It's there's a place in the world for both, and we're hoping to fill that other void.
I mean, the other practicality is, both you and I have tech backgrounds, right? I came
Yes.
into the craft industry, and I'm very honest with people about my love of craft, and I have my pop-up craft food business,
Hmm.
but my background's finance and technology. I just happen to love this industry. And for so many years in the tech world, everything you hear about is about how everything is supposed to be infinitely scalable, like
Right.
without humans involved. And at a certain point, I'm not sure if you felt this way about the tech world, but I was like, no, I'd like a few humans involved. And
Yes.
sometimes I want to talk to people
Yeah.
and I want to know that humans were involved. It doesn't mean that they have to be involved in every product and everything, but gosh, there's certain times where I really actually want to know a human made
Yeah.
this or that a
Well,
human is behind it or looking at it for problems.
I mean, you pointed out right there the whole idea of infinitely scalable, right? And that mentality is really the mentality of, for lack of a better term, I'll say Wall Street. It's just keep growing bigger, and then always reduce expenses. And in doing so, that's where the robots come into play. Um,
Hmm.
I don't believe that every business has to be infinitely scalable.
Right.
It has to be successful, it has to work, but I would much rather to grow a company to $100 million a year, but it still stays intact with its ethos and its ethics and its mission, versus grow to $1 billion a year, but sacrifice all the things for the reasons you started it in the first place, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, the whole idea of infinitely scalable didn't exist in the world until probably 150 years ago, right? Because you think of I'm going to go on a tangent here for a second, but you look at like the industrial revolution with logistics and transportation and the railroads, and then internet comes along, and now it's information highway, and before that, before the industrial revolution, you couldn't be infinitely scalable. How fast could your horse walk? Like you couldn't. If you owned a pharmacy, you could be the best pharmacy in town, but you can't own every pharmacy in America, because it would take days to get to the next pharmacy, right? It's like its technology has created this globalization where one company can rule it all, and I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. And I think that having companies that are mission focused still grow big, but aren't, to your point, infinitely scalable. Like,
Hmm.
that's not
Yeah.
always the goal. It shouldn't always be the goal.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
anyway, that's my thought on it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, I'm not trying to infinitely scale Handmade Seller. I'm
Yeah,
trying to serve a market, help people build more stable businesses that they can be proud of, that make money, because I believe that that'll make a big difference in the world. And
right.
I'm not I'm not trying to grow to some enormous number. I'm just trying to have a sustainable business here. And I
Absolutely.
think
Yeah.
a lot of it comes back to this definition of enough, and we could get super philosophical about that. But I
Yeah.
think that that's part of it too. And when there's outside capital, outside investors, and people are expecting exits, you start to see some of those kinds of things.
Right.
Where, with other things, where one of the things I love about the fact that you're a public marketplace is the aim's different.
Yes.
The aim isn't about becoming this large publicly traded company that's going to have these massive earnings for shareholders. It's about creating something that supports all these small businesses in a way that helps them grow their businesses, much aligned philosophically with kind of how I think about Handmade Seller. And so
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I've always really appreciated and admired about how you guys are approaching Go Imagine.
No, I appreciate that. And I always get cautious saying that, like, whenever I say Wall Street, I don't say it in this negative way to scare people off, but I just think that, and if you see, this is on our mission page and Go Imagine, if you check out the mission page, but the whole idea of, like, you mentioned public marketplaces, there is no public land in the internet, right?
Right.
It's all privately owned, which is ironic because it's the government and our tax dollars that built the internet. So the public paid to have the internet created, and now all corporations own the internet. And I would contend that digital land is just as valuable as physical land now.
Hmm.
If you own Facebook, you own the market square, you own all the communication, you own all, and it doesn't mean that in the real world there shouldn't be private corporations. There should be, but there needs to be an alternative as well. There has to be a little bit of that balance between the two, and I think that online there can definitely be businesses that offset the that corporate mentality. Don't get rid of it. I think it's great. It's just offset it just a little bit, just a little, just a little bit. It doesn't. You don't, like, Jeff Bezos. You don't have to own everything. Like, you can own a lot. You can own a lot, but yeah,
But then who would Bookshop go make fun of on Threads if
yeah.
Bezos hadn't done what he had done?
That's a good point.
Affectionately
That's
refer
a
to
good point.
Spaceman in all their posts, which
Oh my
huge
gosh.
shout out. I love whoever runs the Bookshop
Yeah.
Threads account. It's quite humorous. But sorry, I digress now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so tell people, how do they learn more about Go Imagine? We haven't talked about your free Circle app yet either. So why don't
Oh
let's
yeah.
talk about that, and then we'll talk about where they go online to find more about Go Imagine.
No, I love that. So yeah, so we often talk about the marketplace, and people look at Go Imagine as a marketplace. And from a buyer perspective, it is a marketplace, right? From the seller side, though, we really look at ourselves more as a handmade community, and the marketplace is just one facet of what we try to offer the handmade world.
Hmm.
You mentioned we have a social app called Maker Circle.
Hmm.
It's on both the Android and the iPhone app stores. It's free. And that's our version of, I'll call it Facebook for the handmade world. So for anyone listening, you for free can download Maker Circle, join the community, and start talking handmade. We have a lot of great groups in there that are always talking handmade, various topics, just like you would on any social app. Now, inside of Maker Circle, we also have something called Maker Business Academy. And Maker Business Academy is our version of education teaching sellers how to sell better online. So we offer a lot of tips and tricks, and we do what are called shop critiques, teaching people what to do with their shops by using sample shops live. So the education is a piece of what we do. We also offer handmade websites, so Maker websites. So if you're looking for Shopify or Wix, we have our own version called Mosaic. And really, at the end of the day, everything I'm talking about here is it's all different ways to provide back to the community. Right? What can we give the handmade community we can help them with? That includes even locally. For anyone who's in Central Massachusetts, we do monthly meetups. So we get together in person. So if you're ever in Central Mass, we do free classes, and then we also do just socials. Get together at a local restaurant, have some drinks, and talk handmade. Um, so yeah, so we offer a lot of different things there. To find out more information, to your point, I mean, we're a website, goimagine.com. That's the easiest thing. Go to goimagine.com. You can look at our mission page, browse the site, go to become a member if you want to become a member and see all the different benefits of different members. But yeah, go to Go Imagine. That's the place to be.
Hmm. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for being our sponsor for this season.
Yeah, yeah, no, we're happy to listen. We're you're supporting the handmade community as well, and for us, we want to support you because that's really what it is, what it's all about for us.
Mhm. Wonderful. All right. Well, you heard it here. Goimagine.com. Everybody go check it out. And thank you so much for joining us today for our show.
Thank you, Amber.